And here we are, everybody. Welcome to the Real or the Realm Talk. You can pick your name, the title, it's up to you guys. But we do this every Tuesday. It was moved for Monday. This is a little talk show where we have here with us Claustro from PMP from Dastro. Hello, Claustro.
Good evening, everyone.
And we also have with us Bombling from the Thundercats Guild as well. Hello, Bombling.
Hey, what's up? Order Pride.
Order Pride, Dastro Pride. I'll kill you both. I have characters on both sides. um. So, guys, I know we have quite a few people who are watching us for the first time, so I'm just going to take a minute and say that in this talk, we go through the patch notes and we'll also raise some other topics that we think that are interesting for us to talk and debate. Us, I mean, not just me, Bombling and Claustro, but you guys as well. So hopefully we're going to have a nice little chat today, like the rest of the times that we did this. So before we go on to the patch notes, as you can see behind me, just going to ask here, because I haven't seen Claustro for the whole week. Anything new, anything important that popped up this week, Claustro? Any highlights that you would like to mention?
For me, the highlight was the warband I had to share with you this Friday.
Oh, the Friday with the new guys.
I had lots of fun, and it was a pleasure to play with the new players, and you as well.
To tell you the truth, I didn't expect the warband to go as well as it did. Meaning, I thought with the low-level players that were going to be joining us on Friday, I thought we're just going to be mainly dying. But it turned out to be quite good. We got a couple of over 40s, I think, in there as well. So it was a lot better than I hoped. Hello, Sundom. So, Bombling, anything, any highlights from your week?
Well, it's the week after the 2 times event and the Nordland event finished as well. So the server is a little bit more quiet, as we usually see. I personally started, I always do it backwards. So when there's a 2 times event, I stay on my main and push Renown for him for no reason and no benefit at all. And then the week after, I go back to an alt and start leveling that. So I play it backwards. So I've been on a warrior priest lately.
Okay. The server at the moment though, there's 3,072 out of 3,500, so it's really good. I mean, population wise, I think we're doing great at the moment. Hold on a second, because I gotta look at my notes. Okay, so let's see the patch notes. I mean, I didn't have any highlights except the little warband we did with Cluster with the new guys. And personal highlight, I'm quite happy I took my 4th sovereign. Yay! After getting my ass kicked.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, we got our asses kicked on that city. That gave me those crests. It was really a massacre, but it happened. Pugging it happens. But that's something I will talk a little bit later. So on the patch notes, ladies and gents, this is the patch notes from last Saturday, the 14th of March 2020. First one on the board there, kill collectors. Kill collector quests are now supported by the server. However, not many have been added to our database yet, but more of them will be added in the future patches. I don't know how many of you have met kill collectors in the war camps as new players. Usually, it's should be pretty much the first thing you meet on tier 1, I think, as you go into the first war camp. But we'll let Bombling get into it and talk to us about them a little bit.
So kill collectors are just a third way, in my opinion, to level up your character's career rank and only grant you experience. So you can either just go around, you can do your quest and go from hub to hub, from chapter 1 camp to chapter 2 camp and do all these quests, or you can go meet the kill collector. And the way it worked on the live servers was that when you meet the kill collector, he or she will tell you to go kill some nearby monster types. For example, go kill these spiders to the north. And then you go kill like 50 spiders and you return to the kill collector. And you will be granted a little bit of experience for each of the requested mobs that you have been asked to kill. So it's just like a way to grind up mobs if you don't like questing and you don't like doing PvP.
Okay, I mean, that is an PvE thingy, so I don't know if Claustro wants to add something to that.
Doesn't you get XP from your speaking to these guys in the work?
Yeah, as far as I
Yeah.
remember, as soon as you, that's why I said usually they're the first ones you see. So for the new guys that go in, on Northland specifically, from the road, they follow the road, the main road. The first NPC on your right hand side is a kill collector. You talk to him, you always used to get a little bit of XP. But that was it. I don't think it was giving you any more quests like Bombling says. I think they added those quests now.
So that experience tick that you guys are referring to is when you meet the rally master in each quest hub and the kill collector, you would get like a little unlock experience for meeting noteworthy people
Yeah.
in each city.
Ah, okay.
So the new experience, and I think this is only in the very first kill collectors in the first chapters they implemented this so far.
Okay.
It's just you go meet the kill collector and they tell you to go kill like a boar or a
Okay.
spider or something.
That is good though. So we have now, like, except the PvP repeatable quest, now we're gonna have this little quest thingy going. So I think that will help a lot of people that come into the game and they have the mentality of other MMOs that you go through the quest lines and all that. It will help them to ease in, I think, and
Yeah.
level up a little bit faster. Okay, City Sieges. Ooh, I think that's the one that most people might be a little bit interesting in, since it's a PvP thingy. So for the city sieges on the last pass, they increased the time it takes for warlords to take flags in stage 2 from 30 seconds to 50 seconds. Before we talk about this, I do have a question because I've never realized what is these little stars that I have at the end? Where?
That's explained further down in the patch notes.
Oh,
It's just that it was hotfixed during the week time.
okay.
So instead of
I
we
was
have
wondering
like
what that star
5
is.
different hotfixes.
Okay. So, Claustro, what does that mean for the maps on the cities? That time increase to 50 seconds, is that a good thing or does it prolong the scenario of the cities unnecessarily? What do you think?
I think it's a good change. It will prolong the stage 2 a bit more, so you can have much more fun in the city siege, and you have much more time to recover after a wipe. You have much more time to prepare yourself for different strategies that the enemy might do, or if you want to do anything. So it's good. It's a longer city siege, basically, and that's always fun.
Okay, Bombling, what do you think about this?
I think it's a good change, first of all. And this is the second change we have seen to prolong stage 2. The first change we saw was a few weeks back, where the lords, the 4 NPCs, 2 from each realm, are walking a little bit more slow to each BO.
Yeah.
And now they're taking a little bit longer to capture. So it just gives more wiggle room from, as Claustro said, if you wipe, you have a chance to get back out there before you actually lose a battle objective or you lose a lord. So it gives more wiggle room, and you can also maneuver a little bit more with this change, so you can make more strategical decisions in this stage, and I welcome that.
And here's a small debate though. What happens? I'm not arguing that's a good change. It is a good change. I agree with you on when you're talking about two organized warbands that they have strategies and builds and formations going in there. They need that time. But what happens when you have one warband of that type and then you have a 24 random people on the other side that get annihilated? Does that prolong their torture?
Not necessary. It also depends on how many objectives you capped in the first stage, and usually when you face a pug, you will dominate that phase as well. Sure, it will be a bit longer, but at the same time, this warlord doesn't have as many objectives to cap than if, for example, you are losing against another pre-med, you are being pushed back, and you want to recover in stage 2 and push them away. So I see your point, but I think it's a good one anyway.
No, I'm just trying to raise all the little arguments, and see, because there is that side. There will be a lot of people that say, that usually pug, they're not part of a guild. So I think we need to see how that affects them as well, or if it does affect them in any, big way. Bombling, you think the
So
pugs are going to be okay with this?
I think no matter what, organized versus puck is always going to be a very hard battle for the pickup groups. This change in specific is not going to change too much of the balance in that regard in that matchup. Basically, due to if you're defending a pickup group versus an organized attacking group, and then the pickup group is going down to try to sneak a back attack on one of the lords moving slower and taking longer to cap will technically give more time for the puck group to maneuver around and avoid the fight. So I can see this working in both organized and pickup group advantage.
Okay. But since we are on this on the topic of the cities, okay. So what about this endgame gear that is gated behind the cities? Since we're on this topic, I think this is the right point to talk about this as well. The end gear in the cities, I mean, that is behind there. Is it easy to get? Is it hard to get, Claustro? What do you think about the gear there? Should it be there?
I think the gear is actually quite easy to obtain and get if you have the time to play. It's not that it's demanding to get it. The main thing is, in my opinion, and that's not the developer's fault. It's from the core gameplay of the game. It's locked behind this city siege. I'm not sure if we should go into it further now. We're gonna speak about it later on, but I think it's if you just want one of these three sets, it's rather easy to get it. If you want all three, of course, you're gonna have to do some grinding to get it. And in this game, the gear will come anyway if you play. And in this case, you need to be at a specific place at a specific time to be able to get it, and that's kind of rough for some players. I can understand the frustration.
So, I mean, Bombling, what do you think about this? But the gear being there should be somewhere else, maybe, because
So
of this time restriction.
just to paint the full picture here, so Sovereign and Warlord is supposed to be the very end game. So there shouldn't be any more new sets coming out that should be better than this gear. It should maybe be downgrades or side grades. So having the best gear only achievable whenever there is this all these stars align. That there's a city siege when you log on. You have your team available. All these like little factors that you need to check before you can even get inside the city is very rough. And if you have a very busy schedule, like Claustro mentioned, like we both have guilties on both realms that can't attend most of these city sieges because they happen in the middle of the night or early in the morning or while people are at work. So I think it's an issue that the best gear is gated behind these stars must align situations. So if there was a way for them to open up for like one sovereign, like we saw on live servers down the road, or having like Royal Crest drop from PvP kills from killing renowned rank 80 mains or something like that, I don't know.
But if I you say this is the end game gear, right? So there's nothing
Yes.
else coming out of it after it. So if you were to get Royal Crests in maps, like you said, or anything anywhere else, wouldn't that reduce the amount of time required to get it? Shouldn't the last gear in the game be, time wise hard to get, so people will keep on playing and then don't feel there's no content, there's no grind to it, and make it more satisfying when you get it? I mean, some people already have full sets.
The thing is, if you compare the state of the server compared to 4 or 5 months ago, the fighting in the active zones are quite dead. At the moment, it's all about players pushing keeps, pushing objectives, pushing keeps, and then push the fort, and then hopefully you can get a good city siege versus another pre-made to find these good fights that some organized warbands are looking for. 4 months ago, we had a really good time versus the Guild 7th. We were out in the lakes, we were searching for each other, we got these good fights all the time. But at the moment, it's more about that door going down. And last event we had Sunday, I believe, we searched for the fights, but it was rough to find them because everyone was clustered up close to a keep. Yeah. So in that sense, the game is in a really bad state. But in another way, the game is in a really good state because we have this new content, we have this new gear, and it all depends on what you want to do with the game.
Well, you mentioned the fights and everything. I don't know, Bromley, you have something to add before I move on to different question?
No, I think this is a good segue.
So now that you mentioned the good fights and this going down and the good fights that the pre-mades are looking for, this brings me to one of the topics I want to talk about. So we're going to mix it a little bit here. What I wanted to talk about regarding the cities and maybe scenarios, but it's the same kind of mechanism, is the queuing system. And what I want to talk about that because, as you said, the organized guilds like PMP, Art of War, Singularity, Thundercats, Beneteliacs, and a lot more guilds. But the one when they go to the city, they want to fight. Let's say Thundercats want to fight PMP or FMJ. They want a pre-made on the other side to make it interesting to be a good fight, right? But from my experience, so far with the queuing system, it's you roll a dice whether you're gonna get someone which is a pre-made on the enemy side or just a pug. So here's my question to that: should the city sieges, when you're queuing, give you the option as they do on Calidor Woods? I'm a pre-made. Click as a pre-made or click as a pug. And if they're, if all the pre-mades are met 1-to-1 and there's another one left, then okay, that one will be matched with a pug. What do you think, Bombling? Would that work to satisfy everybody? So the pre-mades get the pre-mades, the pugs get the pugs. It's kind of like balanced that way. And if someone is left out and there's still people, okay, those are the really unlucky ones.
I think there's no perfect system. And to elaborate further on that is no matter what system the devs implement for this, there will be people who either work around the boundaries of the system. And what I mean is the same we see with the Calidor Woods puck rank scenario. If you have enough guildies queuing at the same time, there's a big chance some of your guildies will get the same pop. It's kind of the same at just a large scale. If you try to everyone queue up at the same time for a city siege, there's a good chance that you might get the same people in the same instance. Not everyone, of course, but there are ways that you can work around the limitations of the system. So I think the current system right now, I think it's an error on all the players that you have pickup groups that is just forming 2-to-2 and they're not strong enough to take on like the guild organized warbands, and they're queuing up for the early instances instead of waiting for 5 minutes. So I think, and this is just like reaching out to everyone on the server, if you're about to queue for City Siege, wait 5 minutes and let all the pre-made guilds try to get into instance 1, 2, 3, and 4 and like that, and then see if we can balance out this issue on our own.
Oh, so you say we should balance this out ourselves, like an unwritten rule, like don't queue if you're a pug for the first 5 minutes, let the guilds do it, and then get into that one.
I'm interested to hear what Claustro has to think
Yeah,
about
yeah,
this.
we'll go to Claustro. I'm just trying to understand what you're saying. So don't queue for 5 minutes if you're a pug, and then queue. So we give a chance to the pre-med to get in first and meet
Yeah.
other pre-mates. So we solve this on our own. Okay. So Claustro, what do you think about this queuing system?
I think it all comes down to what your definition of a pug is. As an event-based guild, as Fate and Pleasure is, I think we have had 2 city sieges when we got our best roster inside to play together. And I mean, we can deviate from like 5 core players and get 5 extra in, and we still have a good, decent setup, the setup we want. The rest of them is what I would call a pug setup. And in that sense, we are not competitive in the cities. We would like to face some organized groups with the setup we have, but we don't want to face the best groups because we haven't practiced these classes that we bring in, because we bring what we can. So in that sense, we are pug as well. So it won't really work, I believe.
Okay, so there's a lot of issues there. I mean, you just mentioned another thing. So if you're a pug, you're only pre-made, you're pretty much going to lose. But if you're a pre-made with your B team, if you like, and you want to try different tactics and whatnot, because not everybody's online, then you really don't want to go against a full pre-made. So it's best if we leave it down to luck at the moment. That's what I understand from this conversation. That at the moment it's best to be on the luck and hope for the best. Okay, I can live with that personally.
Something like that. And, at the same time, I think our members are like 35 plus, most of them having kids, family, wife, so we can stay up all night. So some of us can. So this weird time, I think we have like 6 to 8 members online, and the rest we fill with random guys. And yeah, you're gonna face PMP, but you're not gonna face the PMP if you.
Yeah, I think that applies for a lot more guilds than just PMP. I think that thing.
I think it's an interesting point that Claustro brought up, because I haven't thought about this myself, that the amount of times I've been able to queue with a full A-team pre-made, and people open the scoreboard and see my name, for example, and they assume, oh, here he comes again with 8 red wizards or whatever. I get that a lot, and I've gathered quite a few stream clips of facing Destro, where I come in with like maybe 5 guildies, and people instantly just start complaining about, oh, here we go, we are against full Bombling pre-made. And I'm like, I'm actually just pugging here, guys. You should not give up on forehand.
True, you never know. Okay. I forgot what I wanted to say. Oh, yeah, sorry. There was a question from, I think it was Perseus, that asked if we know if they planning to do anything about stage stage 1, but I think also applies on stage 2, about the whole punting and falling off to the abyss. Do any one of you have any information on that? Because I know from my perspective, those punts can be severely annoying. It really is a game changer there.
Where do you end up as an autoplay player if you get punted? Are you
die
all the way?
Hold on, I'm getting secrets here as well. Hello, secrets.
Hello.
Hey.
We got it, man.
I'll just be a second. I'm gonna use the restroom.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, well, you fall down the abyss and you fall for about 6, 7, maybe 8 seconds, Claustro. Then you don't really die. You've just been teleported back to your original spot, and then you have to take one of those little teleport flags. And usually we end up, especially in stage 2, if I'm not mistaken, order ends up a little bit outside your spawn place with a little ramp coming down. So that is a bit of a cluster thing for order there, because as we come in, if a lot of you die, then you can kill those coming in or move forward and then get punted again. It's a lot of open space there. I think that's what people have an issue with.
I think they could swap the respawn place. If you get punted, perhaps you should be teleported back to the beginning of the bridge or something. I don't know. You're still gonna lose a player for a few seconds, and that's all that matters. But one could argue that order has the same, or not exactly the same, but the advantage in Altdorf with these 2 doors you need to push through and a wall that order player can jump down from. But yeah, the punting is more frustrating, of course. So
I mean, I would have assumed.
Hey,
that...
so real quick, sorry, I just got back. I've been listening on the
the
can. So we actually put in barriers. They're not patched in yet, of course. 2 IC on the parts where you can get punted off at. So hopefully that's being addressed soon.
Does that include stage 3 as well?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's good. So guys, the punts, apparently, if I understood correctly, soon they'll be out of the equation. They're putting barriers wherever they can. So we'll see how that's going to be implemented soon.
Yeah, I remember Yelly talking about it in the city's chat. So I think that's already done. It's just pending patch. And I think with all the new players that are downloading the game, we're just trying to combine a lot of things into all one client patch before we push it out to people, especially considering the torrent was just updated.
Oh, nice to know.
People to see that. So
good.
One more thing when we're speaking about the city sieges, I think there should be a limit on how many times you can spawn the Sun Dragon and a lot of change or whatever it's called. It's a loss if you lose the Lyceum or the library.
I mean, that's how it was before the Sun Dragon wasn't working. So, and people, honestly, if you lose that spot in stage 1, I've seen people pull it off. Like they kill the Sun Dragon every time it gets summoned. They kill the 2 guys, and I don't think it goes down quick enough if you continue to hold the objectives. However, I've also seen that a lot of Destro warbands and a lot of Order warbands sometimes don't, when it on defense in stage 1, they don't go after the points. They don't split their warband up. Instead, they're clumped up in one engagement. Especially people like Thundercats have been going out and sending a strike group to the other BOs, while the 18-man group just goes on to the main battlefield objective and takes that, kills the 3 cannons, engages your group, and then what a 6-man strike team just takes the other one, takes Lyceum normally. And I think that's really just a strategy thing that needs to be overcome by the player base. There doesn't need to be any adjustments to that. If you want to stop people from summoning Sun Dragon, stop them from getting to the Lyceum, or you can defend the gate. I mean, either way, you're going to have to split up your forces, and the attackers only have to go to one spot. That being said, if you split up your team, they're going to have to split up their team because you can't defend both at the same time.
I heavily disagree. I mean, you did the same change for the Lobagits when they spawned. Basically, you won the stage if you capture the south and north dock. You know,
the Lobagits die so quickly now.
Yeah, but then again, you switch that. But in this sense, with the Sun Dragon and a lot of change, you don't really have a counter unless you heavily engage.
Just go over there to the Lyceum or the library in Altdorf, and you just hold the library or Lyceum while your main group is sitting. If you have a competent 6-man and you're against equal opponents, you should be able to hold off people and alert your main warband, hey, we're going to leave another 6 people here. The 12-man is going to come back and kill the 6-man that's defending Lyceum or library. Like, there's a lot of different things people are just not willing to try because they're afraid of losing. I think that is a player mentality issue and not something that should be fixed in the city seat.
So you say it comes down to people's strategies to overcome all this.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, you have people just saying, oh, we're just going to go to the gate and hold off the Sun Dragon on cons, and then they get punted everywhere. So I think once the punts stop, you'll probably have a little bit more of a fair engagement to be able to just burst down the Sun Dragon and do the strategy of what I'm talking about. Because right now, let's be honest, there has been many Altdorfs. There's been a ton of ICs. Whether that's something to do with the realm pride or not, I don't know. But at the same time, you got to remember, we've only had IC popping lately, and to be honest, it looks fine to me. There's some instances and to be honest, it only matters for capturing flags, right? And getting stage 1 rewards. So at the end of the day, it's not going to really affect anything in the grand scheme of things, except you winning the stage or not. And if you're winning the stage at the engagement, I'd say that for the attackers, it's extremely unfair if you get wiped out at Emperor Circle or Emissary of the Changer, because if you can't wipe them out there, you're not going to progress anyway. So it's the same thing, just that at least this gives the defenders a chance to win again if they lose one engagement.
The thing is, I don't want it to be capped to one Sun Dragon. At least have a few minutes between you can summon the next one.
Yeah, we can probably put that in if it comes down to it. But you got to remember that we're going off of anecdotal feedback and like emotional based feedback. The data we don't have is seeing when the Sun Dragon is spawned, and there's no punts available in IC. So I mean, you could say that about if it's happening in Altdorf often. I've seen a lot of people come back on stage 1 in Altdorf, in the few Altdorfs that has happened. Now, does that happen in every instance? Or every instance balanced? Especially considering that the 24-man content isn't the same? I mean, no, but generally, I'd say it's fine and we should reevaluate it, because you're really not going to know whether it's fine or not until this change to punting at IC happens. Once those barriers go up and people are forced to funnel, or at least not get punted off, or focus on punting people, because that's all PNP, FMJ, Thundercats, Montague, all these people are doing. They're just saying, okay, focus on punting people. They're not even focused on pressing damage buttons, not focused on strategy. They're just focused against punting people off and then killing the remainder. And is that really fun or engaging gameplay? I don't believe so. And until we get that gameplay to stop, there's going to be nothing you can do to really say, hey, the Sun Dragon needs a change, or the Lord of Change is too powerful, that sort of thing. It just is irrelevant. We don't know until this change goes in.
Okay, but here's something Dick Solomon said here in the chat. So instead of a punt fest, we're going to have a funnel fest now with the barriers up.
I mean, it's 20 versus 24. Do you have if you have a funnel fest, isn't that better than instantly having half your team wiped due to position? And I've seen people, even in Thundercats, they have terrible positioning, and it's due to no fault of their own. It's because they're fighting on a fucking bridge.
Yeah, I
for
mean, my
IC.
problem is as an ninja, I have the AoE punch rifling around, so
But you're not even mobile. You're not even mobile as a ninja. You kind of have to get straight into the back of the gate, put your back to a wall, and kill
yeah, what
whatever
I'm
you
saying
can.
is I'm trying to get, like, let's say on the right side of the bridge to angle my frontal AoE punt, and somebody punts me off before I get into
Sitting
position.
so real talk, he's saying that you would sit in a funnel and press bomb buttons. That is not the case. Any competent warband will tell you that sitting in a group and pressing AoE bomb abilities is not what you do in this city. You ideally, and this is the strat that's been working for everyone, even FMJ started doing it because it works really fucking well. They take an 18-man bomb group, and then they take a 6-man group with single target. I saw a PNP group running a full bomb warband, and every time they get destroyed. I see an FMJ group running 2 or 3 witch elves and a single target train on healers and bright wizards, and all of a sudden it becomes a challenge for Order to actually win the game. So really, this comes down to strategy and planning again, which all these warbands that are 24 man or more, they don't know how to play 24 man. They know how to play Zerg versus Zerg warfare, which in an open area, occasionally a funnel. The tides of war change depending on how many people are in the area. Forts aren't a good example of this because forts have unequal engagement numbers. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is some people know how to play 20 versus 24. Some people can play open RVR. Some people can play forts. But at the end of the day, no one plays well in these warband guilds when they have equal numbers. And that's why the 6-man thing works so well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
if we're just backtracking a little bit here to the Sun Dragon question and the Lord of Change. So the way it works right now is you send 6 people, I think it is, to
we send 6 people down to summon the dragon, and we just sit there. And then we go back. We take about the 30 seconds it takes for the Sun Dragon to get there. We engage at the bridge, and then we start either punting people off that have died to the 18 men that are respawning that have already been punting people off, or the Sun Dragon dies, and then we resummon it immediately, knowing that we call out its health, we go back, we resummon it, and that's the time when Destro should be going back to actually counter us from summoning the dragon, which it's like a 3-second channel, and everyone in the group has to actually click on it. It's like during that time, you don't think that someone, especially Destro, could just, instead of going out to the spawn and killing the Sun Dragon, killing the Sun Dragon, you can take about a 6-man and just, or 12-man, and just go wipe the people at Lyceum real quick instead of just worrying about the Sun Dragon that probably you don't have to worry about. I mean, this is completely a player mentality and strategy issue.
Bombling.
I think city sieges are so new and they happen so rarely, and in most would probably call it off hours, that people coming in with their previous mentality of how to play as a guild, we are still very much in the early phase of everyone on the server needs to adapt to both what the other side is doing and who is being innovative in terms of their strategies and their splitting and their stacking and whatever else strategy goes into this city siege. That we will see a lot of probably meta changes for city sieges, and I think this is just one of the first stages.
Okay. So let's move on a little bit on the rest of the patch notes. They made some changes here on the characters, where the character select screen will now respect your gear show options. Okay, that's good because it used to change all the fucking time. The character select screen will now show your weapon appearance. Oh, finally. You know how many times I'm trying to take a screenshot with this shit? What else? The other one? We are looking into reclaiming names from characters which have been somewhat logged into their account, or characters over 2 years. To ensure you're not affected, please remember to log into your characters. This is not active yet, it's just a warning. Okay, I like that. Because I think we're running out of names. A lot of people want some names, and I think some people just made characters, and then maybe they're not on the server anymore, and those are left. I think that's a good move. Hopefully, I might be.
Seems...
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I was just gonna say I might actually be able to get hotfix for a Bright Wizard.
I was just gonna say this seems like the aftermath of all the new players coming in, so that's probably a lot of stress on like old reserved names that is not seeing active play, and all these new players coming in with like their favorite name, and it's already taken.
Sorry, there's a lot of messaging going on as well, so sometimes I lose track there. So on the patch notes, this patch that happened last Saturday was a little bit light on the PvP aspects that we like a lot. But the devs are never resting; they're always making things. So there's a lot of changes they did on the quest, and there's quite a few items that they fixed. Um, on a couple of items about the quest. I mean, you can read this. Usually, we don't go through that. But I do like to mention that they did fix the 7-piece bonuses on Warrior Priest and Dog sets for the Warlord and Sovereign have been implemented. And also the 7-piece bonus for Shaman, Archmage, Zealot, Rune Priest, Hill Sovereign now give the correct amount. So you'll be able to see on the tooltips what's going on. Also, another like PvP thingy that might be important for the new players is this little update on the world here, where on the RVR borders of Northlands, you can go a little bit deeper in the war camp where the siege weapons are located. If other war camps have siege weapons outside the RVR area, please submit a backtracker. So remember, always help the devs to fix things. The backtracker is there. It's up here on the main page. So you can go there and help fix a few things on the game. And I think this will change a little bit the gameplay on Tier 1. What do you think, Bombling? Will that the ability to push even deeper will make it a little bit more fun?
I'm not sure about fun, but after I did my tier 1 experience last week, I definitely noticed that when you slowly creep in on the war camp and you just like besiege the war camp, as soon as those cannons start firing, that's really when the defenders can break out. So that the attackers, or well, the dominating force in the tier 1 leg can push closer to the war camp. I can't see it as a problem because the cannons are just so strong in tier 1.
Okay, we'll see how it's gonna play out. I mean, I don't do a lot of Tier 1 myself, but we'll see how that's gonna play out. Party Warband, those windows had a couple of things, a couple of issues, their visual bugs, so they were fixed as well, and of course all the little tickets. Oh, I didn't see this one. I didn't get all the way down here before. Just saying this to everybody. Recruitment, we are looking for 3D environment artists. If you have experience in 3D modeling using tools such as 3Ds, Max, Maya, Blender, etc., please contact maxheyman at returnofreckoning.com or maxheyman #8344 on Discord. If anyone is, oops, I was not intended. If anyone has those skills and want to help out the game, feel free to do so. Your character name was flagged. Maybe you should play him a bit more often there, Duff, and welcome as well. So, like I said, this patch note is a little bit light, but we do have a few more things we want to talk about. Claustro had an issue. He's gone for a little while. Let's see if he's going to come back a bit later. So we're going to continue with Bombling and Secrets that is still here. Real life can be difficult sometimes. So one of the other things we wanted to talk about today is zone locks. It's a thingy there. Bombling, what do you want to talk about this one?
So that was the topic I wanted to bring up, just as a hot debate topic. I have the hot take on zone locks that we need to probably look into if the zone lock system currently is functioning, and I think it is, but can we improve on it to make the zone locks and the campaign feel more wholesome? I would probably call it, because right now we got the city sieges and we got the end game, we got the forts, and they're kind of working. Some people like them, some people don't. But the natural zone locks in tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4, normal middle zones, I think they need a little bit of adjustments to finish the whole feeling of the campaign. And what I mean by that, if Fix, are you in game right now?
He might have kicked me, but I can load in.
Could you by any chance log in and open Thunder Mountain map?
Yeah, sure.
So what I'm just going to continue talking. So what I mean is we have 4 battle objectives and 2 keeps on each zone map. And in a map like Thunder Mountain, one of the bios is completely out of play. And that's due to the zone lock mechanic of it requires a realm to have both the keeps and 3 out of 4 bios. I think it's maybe time for us to look into if we need to activate all 4 bios as a requirement for locking a zone, just to prolong the campaign. and then maybe maybe that will even out some of the constant daily pushes to either of the cities. Because yeah, I see you're opening up the map now. So you see on the far east, that battle objective is pretty much never in play in a map like Thunder Mountain.
I would say that having 3 out of
Hold
4
on a second,
BOs
sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Just a second, sorry, because I need to do something here for a second. Sorry for interrupting, didn't mean to.
It's okay.
What the hell is the thing I'm looking for? Ah, there we go, that's the one I want. So, Bombling, you're talking about the lonely BO at the far, right? This one.
Go on, Secret, you had a point.
Oh yeah. So the thing about having 3 out of the 4 BOs means that no matter what's going on in the zone, you don't have to catch them all. I mean, especially in something like Thunder Mountain, where the BO is out of position. I mean, you could just argue that you could put the BO on top of somewhere like Doom Striker Vein, or at least nearby in one of the side things like KP is. But I honestly don't see a need for more than 3. Especially considering that if your whole realm is just standing at one BO, stonewalling a zone, that's going to put a funnel point all on one BO. And especially in a world where you can just have your entire zone's army, especially in an even engagement, deny a zone cap just because there is one entire Zerg of the enemy faction on one BO means that you're not going to be able to flip a zone.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point, and I think it's very important that we stress that I have a very biased opinion here because I want the good fights where an organized team can go in and put a wrench in the machine. For example, in the Thunder Mountain map, if let's say a 6-man group is going to that far BO and they prevent the 4 BOs from locking the zone, then the dominating force will have to send a bigger army to deal with that 6-man, and that will open up the rest of the map for these like guerrilla attacks. And I think it's just opened up a lot more interesting fighting.
I think the biggest problem with doing that though is if you have an entire warband of people that are going out to the 4th BO, that makes it really easy to get the other BOs, and by the time they clear out that 6-man and come back, there's going to be like a bunch of little groups out in the lake just trying to have skirmishes on those other BOs, because obviously no one wants to fight the big Zerg. No one wants to fight a little Zerg. No one wants to fight a 24-man with a 6-man. So what you're going to have is just a 6-man get rolled instantly, which is not a good fight. Then you're going to have the smaller groups just fighting it out on the other 3 BOs, which may or may not be good fights, depending on how many are spread.
Yeah, I can definitely see both arguments. I just think it's an interesting topic to bring up because it could bring good fights. It could also just mean that
let's look at
zones are just gonna stall.
Let's say that the Destroy Keep gets killed in Etain and the Lord dies and they capture the keep, and Order has all the BOs in one zone, and then Destroy decides to go to let's say Manor in the far west, for example, and they sit there with 400 people and just sit there until the rest of the zone is captured. Now Order could say, I'm going to take my 480 people and go to this BO and meet them there. But every time, because they're in a defensible position like Manor, they will get. And therefore the zone would be stalemated for the next couple hours. Whereas if you have a 3 BO system, you have to split out your forces, because you won't always be able to defend each BO. And at the end of the day, do we really want the campaign to be stalemated that long? Are people that allergic to having the campaign progress? Because I don't think it'll bring good fights. I think it'll bring worse fights. And I mean, it'll bring big Zerg versus Zerg engagements, which is cool. I mean, it's cool for the cool factor of it, but is it practical? Probably not. Especially when you consider that these zones have to lock eventually. And if you lost your keep in the first place, you don't want to stalemate a zone just because you can stalemate a zone. People are going to eventually want to give up, go get gear. I mean, this is one of the reasons you need a win condition.
So, I agree.
So yeah, there's some people in the chat here. They're bringing up some points, such as we're holding majority of battle objectives. Both keeps and BOs was granting points over time, and zone would lock over a certain threshold of points. Or how about scenario contribution? How about those mechanisms for capturing a zone?
I don't think anything with OpenRVR has to be changed. I think there has to be more of a reason to run supplies. I think the whole concept of tagging a keep with a siege weapon is kind of silly. So
True.
being able to stop supplies from being turned in because some guy or a 6-man clears their way through a small group of people, brings a cannon to a door, and presses left click, prevents progress for 15 minutes. I think that kind of thing needs to be stopped. That being said, I don't think I speak for everyone when I say that. And beyond that, not sure. It's just one of those things where if you were to bring back the victory point system from live, it is very important that you do it properly. But honestly, I think the only thing that needs fixed is the reason to collect and turn in supplies. Yali has talked about this, wanting to add in rewards for returning enemy supplies, which is like XP and renown for right-clicking on them, which I think is perfect. Because perfectly how it is right now is not really perfect. So what I would recommend doing is being able to drop off supplies at the war camp for half credit, like when your keep is under siege. That was something Yali said, and I completely agree with it. Beyond that, I think that being able to turn in supplies should be the same as it is now, and denying enemies of supplies should have some level of reward associated to it. When you see destruction supplies on the ground, you should be able to right-click them and get a bonus for denying them of a capture, because effectively you're helping the room, and you should also get contribution for it as well, which would also make running supplies an actual fun activity, especially if you're getting war camp farmed. You'll be able to contribute in some way to your realm.
True. Oh, there's all good points there. Here's something that I don't know if it's viable or not, but always respawn in war camp.
No. So the whole thing with hitting the inner is a really good strategy, and it also makes cannons actually have a point. Outside of the damage that cannons do right now, they do not do anything. I mean, let's look at it. Like, if you were to deploy an AoE cannon, I think that's the only cannon I'd ever use right now. Maybe shoot one occasionally, get loyal dib, but I mean, range DPS are going to do that job better. There's really no point to cannons right now. So having a point to using the single shot cannons is really a good thing, right?
So
especially considering some classes are useless in these keep engagements. When a keep, as a white line, when a keep starts, or any melee DPS really, I want to be able to contribute in some way, and currently that is either find one of the available AoE siege cannons, play at the postern to deny people from going up to kill the oil, or just sit with my thumb up my ass. And most people, let's be honest, are going to pick the last option. So I think keeping the single shot cannons there as something for melee to do, which is hit tagging the inner, is really a cool idea. And they don't even have to stay with that cannon to do the idea. They can play around the postern. They can defend the postern, that sort of thing. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just there's so much more of a point to this spawning in the keep thing that it gives a point to getting the outer down and tagging the inner.
But to follow up on that, I think the initial point from Tyfall in Twitch chat was hitting the gate with the cannon and preventing people from spawning inside the keep gives more strategical and more organization to the attacking force. So they have to cover the posts and coordinate. Okay, do we have incoming to the south? Do we have incoming to the north? How many forces are we assigning to that? So hitting maybe the outer door with a cannon could even prevent people spawning inside the keep.
No, I think that's a terrible idea. That's just going to make keep engagements way too easy. So hitting the inner with a cannon probably should never result in people not spawning the keep. In fact, I think OpenRVR is probably in one of the best states it's ever been in for this game. The only thing I would change is, of course, there's no way to get your keep above 3 stars to 4 in a timely manner. By the time you get your keep to like 4 stars, like it is in 18, it's either the zone has stalemated or something else has happened that's causing it to get to 4 stars. But generally, if you look at 18 right now, the keep is probably going to go down before, or we're never going to see a 5-star keep essentially, because resources can't be turned in anywhere but the keep. And you can't contribute to the game. You don't get rewarded for contributing to the game easily. There's not an easy way to turn in supplies. having the war camp available as a second turn-in point for 50% of the value and resource contribution would give another level of strategy and a purpose to these supplies that aren't there. And when you're attacking a 4-star keep, you got to remember the postured doors are barred, even if you get the doors down, which really makes it fun and exciting. Whereas before this, there's just, I think this is the first time I've actually seen a 4-star keep in game right now in 18. It's the first time I've seen one.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Quite some time.
I haven't seen a 5-star cap either in months and months. But with the new people in the game, those type of things might actually start happening, especially when all the new guys start leveling up and the population is bigger there.
Well, I mean, you look at 18 right now. There's 800 in the zone.
How many?
800.
800. Yeah, that's a big one. Okay, I think we've covered most of the stuff we wanted to cover for today.
And I think we went into this episode of the podcast knowing that we would take some hot topics and we would have disagreements. So on some topics we agreed to disagree, and that's pretty much just what this episode was about.
Yeah, I think we've raised some topics that people want to talk about, both the queuing system and the changes on the cities, and a little bit about the gear. I know we had a few more topics on the docket today because we do try and get an idea of what we want to talk about. But with Secrets jumping in, we kind of left our original timetable. So we're gonna keep some of those topics and ideas for next time. Hopefully, we'll see how big the next patch note's gonna be, what the guy's going to be changing and doing. So at this point, I think we covered most of the stuff. We are about 6 minutes before the end of the stream, so I think this is a good point for us to say goodnight to you guys. So thank you very much from my part. Thank you very much for being here today for the stream before and for sticking around for the Realm Talk. It is we're doing this so we can all communicate and get some ideas out there. So I think devs are watching this as well. They get the ideas. If you've seen Secrets, did us a favor and jumped in to help us a little bit on that kind of discussion there. So a big thank you to everybody. So I'm going to pass it on to Bombling.
Yeah, for this week's shout out, I would just like to point out that we had the chance for this episode to talk about any subject we felt was close to our hearts, like if anything was imbalanced or anything like that. And we brought up like suggestions for changing the campaign, how to queue for the city, stuff like that. Nothing is really out of balance on the game right now, and it feels so good playing the game. So just once again, a big shout out to the server community and to the devs for bringing the server to life and giving us this chance to play. So thanks to everyone involved.
I don't know
shout out to Max Damon for going really hard on the server optimizations, and Dallin too. You guys have been really doing a great job holding the fort down. I know we just lost Nathril recently on the dev team, so we've been kind of down a coder, but at the same time, we've been making great strides. We've had a lot of, look at Etane right now, how many people are here. This is incredible. There's like 900 right here with 0 latency. And I think that's part due to all the coders coming together, Dallin, Max Damon, myself, and just pushing for these awesome things to happen. Max has been especially putting himself out on the line to make sure everything happens, and so have I, so has Dallin, and it's just great to have these people on our team helping us and being able to have 800, 900. I will mention that on the official Mythic servers, the most they've ever had recorded in anywhere in the same location was 800. The server would start to tank after that on a live server for Warhammer Online. And that was during the initial launch, I think. And they've never actually exceeded more than 800 in a keep fight. So the fact that we were able to do that, and the max they had online on a single server on Mythic was 3,600. We've eclipsed that by a little bit more than a few. So
very nice.
Yeah, the server is doing well population-wise. So Claustro had to step out unless he's back to say goodnight. Okay, he's not back, so I'm assuming Claustro would say a big thank you to all of you as well, because you guys make this happen. This event happen reality. If you're not here, we're not going to have a lot of things to say. Thank you very much again.